congratulations, you are a principal and these are the universities that you got accepted into. So I was like, yes, finally, Lord Jesus. Hello, hi guys, welcome to Danny's Academic Corner. I hope that you are doing well today. So as you can tell from the title of this video is going to be the first of a series that I'm starting talking about the Fulbright experience. So I may have mentioned in a couple of videos that I am a Fulbright student. I came to Chicago 4 months ago to pursue my master's in public health, and I'm on a Fulbright scholarship. So I'm really excited to talk about this journey because I have learned a lot about myself through applying for Fulbright and subsequently moving to the US and studying here. And I always knew that once I settle down, I'm going to sit down and film a video talking about Fulbright. Then recently I started thinking, I honestly don't think one video is enough, because if you have gone through this experience or you're going through it, Fulbright is a long process applying for it, and there's just so many facets of the application. So I feel like it would be a disservice to just do one video, and also one video where I'm sharing my experience, because I'm only one person, right? So in this series, I'm going to be talking to other Fulbrighters who are currently in the US from South Africa, and they're also going to be sharing their experiences, their advice in terms of putting together an application. Because like I said, I'm only one person, and my approach may not be relatable to everyone, but if I bring in other voices, you might find that, oh, I like his or hers way of doing things better, or I feel like that kind of aligns with how I would go about applying for the application, because applying for the scholarship, because honestly, it really isn't a one size fits all. Like, the Fulbrighters in our cohort were really different people. Everyone is ambitious in their own way. People are coming from diverse backgrounds. So it's really going to be exciting. I can't wait to also learn from my peers and just see how they went about this process. So that's really my intention behind creating the series. And I also know that when I started the Fulbright process, when was it? Beginning of 2021, that's when I started applying for it. I went on YouTube to check out videos from past or current Fulbrighters, and most of the videos were very short and they didn't really go into a lot of detail. And I was just like, well, let me just do my best and then take a little bit of information from this video, take a little bit of information from that video, and then try to put it together and inform my application process. And it helped me to an extent, but I also feel like just sitting down, giving as much information and detail as possible will also be useful. So that's what we're going to get in today. I'm briefly going to talk about what exactly Fulbright is, and then talk about the application timeline, so you just get that background and contextual information about the scholarship. Then in the next series, I'm going to have my peers, and we're going to talk about tips in terms of writing the personal statement, writing the study objectives, amongst other things, because that's the meat and potato of the application. So yeah, stay tuned. It's going to be really exciting. Okay, so first of all, what is Fulbright all about? So Fulbright is a scholarship that is sponsored by the US government. It's been going on since 1940 something. I think it's 1946, just after the end of the World War. It's been going on since then. And they're based in like over 100 countries: South Africa, Nigeria, Pakistan, India, Colombia, Jamaica, you name it. Like Fulbright is like in like most of the countries around the world. So the purpose of the scholarship is to give people an opportunity to study or do research or teach in the US. So I'm here doing my master's. Some people are here doing their PhD. Some people are, they're already like PhD students in their home country, but they're here on a visiting research scholarship. So a university in the US hosts them and they get the opportunity to learn from a professor, use the resources, or just add a new perspective to their research. And some other people, they're working as professors back home, and then they get the opportunity to come to the US for a semester or 2 semesters, teach a particular course with, usually that course is infused with like their home country's like background or culture, because the whole point of Fulbright at the end of the day is to have a cultural exchange between the two countries. So as much as it is an academic enrichment program, but there's also a lot of emphasis on you coming to the US and immersing yourself in American culture, learning from other Americans, as well as also representing where you're coming from. So showcasing your part of the world, your culture, and yeah, just sharing your culture with other Americans. So they put a lot of like emphasis on how you'll be an ambassador of your country, which I really love about Fulbright. So that aside, I'm gonna get into the application timeline, because boy, Fulbright, you need to be a patient person. Even if you are not patient, because I know like I can be very impatient, but Fulbright will get you to be patient, because it was like a year-long process from applying to finding out and eventually just preparing for the trip. It took a year. So where should I begin? Okay, fun fact, this scholarship that I'm on, this is my second application for Fulbright. I had actually applied for a Fulbright scholarship in early 2020. So I graduated with my master's in population studies in 2019, and I remembered I'd started like job hunting, and you know how it can be, like job hunting is very frustrating back home. You go through all the applications, the interviews, and nothing was coming out of it for a while. So then I thought, you know what, let me apply for Fulbright. Like, I have nothing to lose. Let me just apply for it. But unfortunately, I was unsuccessful and I didn't even get an interview. And looking back, like, it makes sense. When you're applying for a scholarship like Fulbright, they want to see your intentions. You can't apply for the sake of like, oh, I don't have anything else going on right now, so I might as well, because that will show in your application. So really, like, there wasn't much thought behind why I applied for the scholarship the first time around. It was just, like I said, for the sake of like, I didn't have a job at the moment, so let me just go for it. So cool. So 2020 comes, I eventually get a job, and then I work at that job for a year. And of course, that was the pandemic year. So that was also an opportunity for me to really sit and reflect in terms of what I want out of life, because you know, you're not really going out much and interacting, so there aren't a lot of distractions. So you're really just like, what do I want to achieve? What are my goals? You know, you have like an existential crisis type of thing. And then, yeah, towards the end of 2020, looking at how far I've come in that year in terms of really doing the work, in terms of reflecting on what I want, and also looking back at what I've achieved in that past year and the previous years, I just thought, I think this is actually a good time for me to give this application another shot. I feel like I'm capable, I can do it, I know what I want, I am ambitious, and I'm just gonna go for it. So I came to the decision to apply for Fulbright by the end of 2020. So then 2021 comes and I'm gonna go into the application now. So the application timeline. So the call for the scholarship opens in mid-January, and then the deadline is May. Like 5 months later. So you have between January to May to put together an application. Then thereafter, I submitted my application on towards the end of April, and I waited for about, it was less than a month, like towards the end of May. I got an email and I was notified that they would like to interview me. So yeah, that was promising because like I said, the previous year I didn't even get an interview. So I was like, okay, cool. So then the interview was like, I think a week or so after I got the email. And yeah, I was like really nervous for the interview. I was just like preparing. I just didn't know what they would ask me. So it was an interview that took place over Zoom, and then it was like 3 people on the panel. But you know what? It really wasn't as intimidating as I thought it would be. It basically ended up being kind of like a conversation because they just wanted to confirm what you had written in your application. So they ask you, why do you want to study in the US? Like, what are you interested in? Can you talk about your work experience or what you studied? And how has that shaped your decision to apply for the scholarship? So really, like, if you were truthful and honest in your application, it really shouldn't be a problem. And if you're genuinely passionate about what you want to pursue, it really isn't an issue. So yeah, I tried my best to be calm, though I was a little bit nervous. But like I said, it was a conversation. I shared with them my intentions, my goals, my career plans, and yeah, it went well. And then I think about a week or so later, I get an email to say that I've been shortlisted for the Fulbright 2022 cohort. So I was like really excited. And then, so that was around June, I would say. So like I said, the interview took place end of May. Then I got shortlisted in June. Now, the next step is, because I applied to do a master's degree, the next step is to do the 2 tests. So you have to do the graduate record exam and you have to write the TOEFL exam. So basically, they want to gauge your English proficiency. The graduate record exam, not all universities in the US, but some universities in the US, you are required to write this exam where they test your writing skills, your quantitative reasoning skills, and your qualitative reasoning skills. Like, the GRE was just a lot. It was a lot. Like, I might make a video on that separately, but if you are planning to pursue a master's or I think even a PhD, my advice is you need to start studying for the GRE like earlier on in the year. Even if you don't know there's any guarantee that you'll get the scholarship, my advice is just start studying for it anyway, because it's a really long test. It was like 3 hours and 45 minutes. You do 2 writing pieces where one writing piece, you're just sharing your opinion on something. The other writing piece, you're critiquing an argument. Then the quantitative reasoning section, it's basically just a variety of mathematical stuff. There's algebra, there's geometry, problem solving, statistics. So I had to really brush up on my high school mathematics. And then the qualitative reasoning, so they're looking at your vocab, how well you understand like sentence structure. So they'll give you like a sentence, and then there'll be like gaps in the sentence, and they'll give you a list of like words, and then you have to choose what words fit in the sentence. So it's a little bit complicated, but if you study for it, it's not that bad, honestly. And then there's reading comprehensions and things like that. So between the end of June to like early September, you have to book your graduate record exam test and your TOEFL test. The TOEFL was quite easy. Like if you have a bachelor's degree and you were taught in English, like you should be fine. It was just basically a basic reading comprehension, basic writing, listening, speaking. So the TOEFL was fine. So I ended up doing my TOEFL in August, and then I did my graduate record exam in early September, because if I booked my graduate record exam to do it in person. You can do it online, but I had some technological issues, so I ended up like doing it in person, and I only got a date in early September, which was still fine because like you had until like early September to get the TOEFL and the graduate record exam done. So after you're done with that, you send them your results, and then they'll let you know, okay, what's the next step. So then October, I get another email, and then in October, that's when you find out if you are if you've made it to the short list. But another interesting thing with the Fulbright process, I don't know if they'll continue doing that, but they have two types of candidates. You have a principal candidate and you have a backup candidate. So in that final shortlist in October, you're not told whether you're a principal or a backup. You're just told that you've been shortlisted, and then you will know the following year whether you are a principal or a backup. So can you imagine the anxiety, because you're thinking, oh, so what do I do? What if I'm a backup? Then what? Like, I've worked so hard, but then you're like, oh, but I could be a principal, so let me just hope and pray for the best. So yeah, I made peace with it. I'm like, okay, whatever happens, happens. Another thing is, if you need to know about Fulbright, they apply on your behalf to universities in America. So I'm going to talk about the application a little bit more. But how it works is that in the application, you will list your preferences, like, okay, I'm interested in Harvard, I'm interested in UCLA, blah, 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 blah. But eventually they'll be like, because of what you want to research, or because of the program you want to pursue, or the career you want to go into, they will like eventually decide which university is the most suitable for you. So they also use that process, they also use that period to apply on your behalf. So then March comes of 2022, and I'll never forget that day. I get a phone call from my Fulbright coordinator. Can you imagine my heartbeat in that moment when I saw the phone call? Because it could have gone either way, like knowing I'm a principal or knowing that I'm a backup, and like unfortunately the Fulbright journey is ending unless somebody ends up pulling out. So I pick up the phone, and luckily for me, she gets straight to the point. She's like, congratulations, you are a principal, and these are the universities that you got accepted into. So I was like, yes, finally, Lord Jesus. So wow, what a journey. So yeah, from applying in April of 2021 to only finding out in March of 2022. It was long. So then after March, things move quite quickly. Now you have to confirm that you want to take the scholarship, and then in June we are invited to Pretoria. You meet the other candidates in person, and then you're given an orientation about preparing for your visa interview, adapting to life in America, travel tips, finding accommodation, all of that stuff. So yeah, June, it's a pre-departure orientation. Then we go back home, and then you're supposed to leave around July, August. So then I left on the second week of August. So from June till August, things were moving very quickly in terms of going to apply for my visa. That went like fairly smoothly, as long as you have all your documentation in order, you have your passport up to date, and you've got that like Fulbright letter to say that you're getting a scholarship. They asked me a couple of questions, and then my visa was approved. Then I came back to get my passport a few days later, and then the ticket as well, they organize it for you. You just basically let them know like which week would be suitable for you to travel, and they try to work best with you. So ticket was booked, and then that was it. Jet off to America and start a new life. So that was pretty much the timeline of Fulbright. Briefly on the application in terms of what is required. So you fill out the application online. There's a portal, and you don't like fill it out in one go. It's really actually not possible. So you start off with the basic stuff like your personal details, your education background, and then your work experience. So that first part of the application is pretty simple. And then you also need to put down 3 references. So if you're applying for this, start considering like who you would like to have as your references, and have people from diverse like backgrounds that you've been involved in. So you can have someone that was like a professor in your university. You could have someone who was your former employer, or maybe your supervisor who supervised you for your research. So just be intentional about who will, give you a good recommendation, and who has seen like the people that have seen like different sides of you, people who have seen you as a student and people who have seen you as an employee. So references out of the way, then like I said, we get to the meat and potatoes. So your personal statement, it's not even long. They want 2 pages max. So the personal statement, that's basically where you're basically getting them to know you on the human side. So who you are, what has motivated you, what are your goals, what's your vision, what do you see yourself doing with this degree that you will attain in the US. But it's supposed to be very succinct and concise. Then the study objective, it's a little bit more lengthy, but even then they really don't want something like a whole 12-page, 15-page type of thing. It's still meant to be a bit more concise, but longer than a personal statement. So 5 to 8 pages. So that's where you develop your objectives in terms of what degree do you want to pursue, and you highlight what kind of things you want to learn in the US, how this will help you in terms of your skills development, your career development, amongst other things. But like I said, with the study objective and the personal statements, I'm going to save those discussions for later video. And then achievements. So any achievements and awards that you've received, whether in an academic context or outside of academia, any volunteer experience, any study abroad experiences. But those types of things, they were quite easy to fill out. What takes a long time is honestly the study objective and the personal statement. And that's why they give you like 5 months to work on this application, because you may think that writing about yourself or writing about what you want is easy. Okay, maybe for some of you guys it's easy, but I know for me, like knowing what I want and articulating it to someone, especially on paper, it's different. So you really need to sit down and think about how clearly you want to get your message across and what exactly you want to say that will ensure that your application is, tip top. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this first part of the series today, just to give you an idea of the timeline and then let you know what goes into the application. But with that said, I'm going to leave it here for today. Don't hesitate to ask me any questions, and I can't wait to upload the other videos for this part of the series. It's going to be really interesting, and I hope that it will be informative and helpful for you guys who are interested in Fulbright. Okay, with that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!